Okay, so this is a demo of Worm, particularly the mesh generation procedure that Worm has. It's one of its many features. Worm can do a lot more than this, but I am only exposing the mesh generation for now because all the gameplay stuff still needs to be tested thoroughly. So, how do we start? Well, all we have to do is put worm add node in console. Right, this is after you've installed it, and everything's on the website or will be as far as installation, documentation, commands, and everything. So the first thing, worm add node. That's all you need to do. Now, this is for one area. So for every area, for every region, you add one node, not multiple. You can, if you add multiple, it'll still work, but the main problem with that is that the results will be different. So if there's something that you want to reproduce, it'll be difficult to reproduce it. If you add nodes in different places, you'll get different results. So one node per region. What's a region? Meaning that anywhere you can walk to, this room out here, this is one region, right? Here's another region back here, because back here you can't get from this part all the way to this part without no clipping. So makes sense. So that's another region. So one node per region, meaning one node per big area. Now, so the next thing you do that I'm going to just press a button for, but you've added a node, now you just press worm generate, or the command worm generate in console. And you just sit there, you don't have to do anything because it's automated, right? So if you have seen mesh tools, Navmesh tools for Goldsource engine, like all of them are people like adding individual points or rectangles. None of that. This is completely automated. So you can see here, this is adaptive, right? This is what I was talking about. This is another one of Worm's unique features, is that it will adapt to the region according to its constraints. So this is not just a rectangle here. It completely adapted to the shape of the room. Okay, so great. So this is one region we added, and we have nice, big, simple polygons. That's what you want computationally. Fewer polygons and fewer sides means less computation time. Okay, so we'll talk about these miscellaneous polygons later. But this is one region that has been dealt with. Okay, now we have to go to the next region because we didn't add a node there yet. And I have this on interactive mode, meaning that I have to press continue over and over for it to keep generating, but you can turn that off. You can turn off interactive mode. There's a command for it. But it's better with interactive mode to show you. So I'm going to add another node here. Another node, and then what you want to do is do worm new block in console, right? That'll consume that seed. And then you do worm continue. But I think I have it bound, so I'm going to press the button. So, if that didn't work, if you don't get anything out of that, put a seed somewhere else. This is kind of a bug-ish, not really. It's technically not. It just needs to be more robust. Is something we're gonna I'm gonna work on, of course. So let's try that again. New block. I'm not speeding this up or anything. This is how it goes. So okay, great. So now it's done with this region. See, this is a whole region because I can walk anywhere I can walk without using no clip encompasses a region, a single region. So that's why I only added one node here. And you can see I didn't have to go anywhere to add a bunch of points and manually add these rectangles or n-gons. It just did it for me. So, great. This is really nice. This is a gorgeous polygon. The entire space, all of the space is mapped out completely perfectly. Now we get to the ugly part, maybe. Sometimes it doesn't do it. Depends on where you put it. Okay, no, this is really nice. This came out really nice. It usually comes out about the same. So we actually haven't finished yet. Now, once you, if you're on interactive mode, you want to keep going. So you don't want to add any more nodes. You just have to press. This is why I have it bound. Worm continue. You have to press this over and over if you have it in interactive mode, which you don't have to have, but this is for demo purposes. Okay, now once that's done, it'll save it, and the way that works is that it saves it by the map name and then a number from 0 to 9 depending on what you have available. So this one saved it as 0. So we just have to load it back in. Okay. So these are some problem regions. Actually, here, like all of these polygons are really nice actually. So it's going to be hard to demonstrate this, but this is a place where we can actually add a new node because nothing happened. So this is, once it has finished and it exported, you load it back in, and this is where you start editing the mesh on your own. Now, this is what I recommend. So just add the nodes and generate the mesh without editing it at all. Then once it's done, it exported, then you can add it. Then you can edit it. That makes the most sense. So worm, new block. I think we can continue. Yeah, okay, great. Yeah, so see, now we have this. Good. Now we have a kind of a degenerate polygon here. These things will be in future versions. It'll be a lot more robust. So polygons like these will not even exist. You don't have to worry about them in future versions. But for now, that's what we have to deal with. So yeah, it added the other. And it's actually like, this is unfortunate because this is just really nice. The generator, the algorithm created a very nice mesh, so it's going to be difficult for me to find degenerate polygons. They pop up every so often. You'll notice that this is a really nasty, actually, kind of a nasty BSP, a nasty geometry we're dealing with here, because it's not only multiplanar, there are slopes like this, but there are also, such as this, these curved walls. So this is a great example for testing robustness. Anyway, let's let it continue. Okay, now it's exported that one. So it doesn't want to overwrite it, so it goes to 1. So we have to load SPL1 to get the latest version. So this is where I want to demonstrate a few other commands. Unfortunately, the mesh is just too nice. So I'm trying to find at least 2 crappy I guess maybe these 2 might qualify. We'll see. The first thing I want to show is that you can delete polygons on the fly. So worm delete node. That's the one. Yeah. Because you don't want an AI to traverse that. That doesn't. It just, for a navigation algorithm that uses polygons, it would just be really nasty to figure out what exactly they're traversing there. For virtually any AI, you would want nice big spaces. This piece is attacking me. Okay, anyway, let's try to avoid that. Yes, the second thing I wanted to show, and I hope that this will compute. It might not, because it's like really on the corner. But the second thing is, let's try to group these 2 nodes. So you stand inside of a polygon and you type worm group node. This will add it to a group. You have to have at least 2 in a group. Now from here you could do worm clear group, and that just removes all of them from the group if you want. Or ungroup node. So if I do group node, but I want to remove a certain node, certain polygon from the group, ungroup node, right? Okay, anyway, so we want to merge these 2 polygons. Let's see if it'll let us do it. So I do group node in each of them. And then I do merge group. Okay, so this one did not let us do it. And this is probably why is... Oh, no, maybe it's this one. See, we didn't see this. So the reason why it didn't let us do it is one of 2 reasons. Either this is in the corner and it has an erroneous collision, or more likely, what you really cannot do is you cannot try to merge 2 polygons like this one and this one, so that this one will be inside the new polygon, or will be intersecting with the new polygon. You cannot do that. So we want to delete this. So let's try again. Great. So now you can see it merged those 2 polygons, and we have a much nicer polygon here. We do not want tiny little polygons. That kind of defeats the purpose of a mesh. And also, it's just nasty to compute it. If you imagine the spatial reasoning algorithms for AI that are trying to figure out how to navigate in a tiny space like that, it's just going to be annoying. So that's the second thing. And the final feature I want to show is, for whatever reason, maybe it's just so trivial, like this little area here. Okay, so it looks like let me see if it this time I got it. So anyway, like I was saying, the other thing is maybe you have a trivial surface like this. Trivial in the sense that it's like this is one polygon. You could have added a node here and seeded the generation, but it's already done. What the other thing you do is do this. So let's add a point here. There's no visualization for this yet. That's one of the things I have to do. Anyway, you add a point. Let's basically create our own polygon here. Add a point here, maybe right here, and maybe right here. So they'll have to be on the same surface, the same plane essentially. So you cannot add it here. You can't add one point here and one point here because these are two different surfaces, really. You see they have different angles. And I hope I put it on the right angle. The next thing you do is make poly. Okay, so it successfully created the polygon. That means there were no issues. Finally, you do worm graft. And see, now we have our polygon here. And last, certainly not least, is this is the main thing, is right now I'm only exposing the mesh generation and not even the connections. So what can you do with this? Right now I'm going to basically provide an easy interpretation of the exported mesh. So what you do is, I think it's export polys. What geometry? Okay, I have to look this up. It's worm export raw polys. Okay. So what does that do? That's really, this is the way you can get the mesh for your own use, for developer use particularly. Now that exports it. That exports the raw format. If you want to save this, what you do, you edit. We just edited the mesh, right? We merged one. We merged a couple polys and we made our own polygon. Now we have to do save SPL, and the one we're using. What was the one we were using? I think it was. Let me see if I have history here. Okay, so worm save SPL1. So that overwrote file 1 that we have. Where is it? Here. So we can also do worm unload mesh, which just exactly unloads mesh. Maybe you want to load a new one, whatever. And then if you want to load it back, just worm load SPL, and you can see this is our mesh that we modified. So what you get from the raw export raw polys is this, which is, I don't know why is it so small. Anyway, so this is kind of a semi JSON format, where within the brackets, this is essentially an object, right? And each line is a vertex of a polygon. And so that's, as of the moment, the complete functionality of as far as like doing something with the mesh. Right now it doesn't generate connections, which is something is gonna happen. But like I said in previous videos, I only work on this maybe like 2 to 4 weeks in an entire year. So I'll work on it for 2 weeks, then 6 months later I'll work on it for another 2 weeks. It's just, I rarely work on it. So I don't know when the next public release will be. Maybe end of December, something like that. But for now, that is the complete functionality. So you have this is your mesh exported, and as a developer, you can do stuff with this now. Great, right? Now, of course, that means because there are no connections yet, there is no connections exported. You doing the connections yourself. That's a heavy hitting algorithm in and of itself. But like I said, I'm still working on this. We'll get connections out, generating connections, so you'll get not just a raw mesh, but the exporting the mesh. We'll export the mesh with connections. So then all you have to do theoretically is apply a few algorithms to create an AI. And Worm actually has its own AI that uses the navigation mesh, but like I said, I'm not exposing that yet because I want to work on it a bit. Yeah, it's not robust enough to release, I think. So I guess that's it. Worm has a lot more than this. So there's a lot more to talk about, but this is the extent to which I'm comfortable releasing this as of now.